Creatively, the story demanded that her body deteriorate as it tries to adjust to this living creature within her. Here's a person who's only 110 pounds and she's going to drop down to 70 pounds by the delivery of birth. How do you achieve that? Physically, you can't do that. You have to do that through the support of visual effects and prosthetic appliances and special makeup and lighting and camera moves. And when you marry all these elements together, it enables us to achieve what the demands of the script are.
I can't think of another movie that's done this yet. To take a huge, maybe, half of a movie, take your lead character, played by Kristen Stewart, well established in this part, and every single shot is a special effect. It's been done with virtual characters, but this is a completely realistic central character who you are just meant to accept as someone who's getting thinner and thinner and thinner. So it was a real challenge because the whole idea was to feel viscerally the price that this woman is paying.
We storyboarded all these scenes, and then I started thinking of all these different techniques, and to have people wearing helmets and doing motion capture faces, and this would slow production down an incredible amount. The budget would go through the roof, and it's like, it's got to be a simpler way.
Lola specializes in digital cosmetics. We say we're digital cosmetic surgeons. We make, eye bags go away. If a star is, working till 3 in the morning, we make them look, fresh and lively.
They work with a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon who describes how people age, or one makes them young, one makes them older, and how you would tighten things, where you press and where you push in.
We came in the process fairly early on this. They felt our approach was probably the best for this movie.
Edson Williams came up with this technique of making people look younger. That was hand done. It wasn't a computer program. It was just sort of the art of visual effects. That technique was used in Benjamin Button and recently Social Network. So Edson said, no, we just need 2 cameras. Just give me a 45-degree angle view of their face, and we could figure out a way to do this.
The real trick to making her look, thin is seeing the actual structure of her skull underneath her face. And we've actually developed a whole new technique just specifically to accomplish that. We call it shrink wrap. It actually has to do with taking the scan of the original Kristen Stewart. We could then shrink wrap the texture onto the amazing one. I wouldn't say it's groundbreaking, but it was a clever technique, and it's really allowing us to get through these shots. We took the striking, emaciated 3D head, we tracked it into the scene, and then we literally took the original photography and we shrank it onto the puppet. We're doing about 300 shots, just under 300 shots. And you can make anyone look great on one shot, but to make them look consistent across the whole scene is really a big challenge. This shrink wrap technique is really allowing us to keep consistent look.
It's almost like painting, but a computer will track that shape once it's done to help you along. But there's a lot of hand manipulation. It's still the artist gets in there and does it by hand.
A lot of the artists we have here, we brought in with no compositing experience. We have a lot of guys from film school, and we have a lot of guys with photography backgrounds. And we have several of our best artists were traditional artists doing anatomy. So they were very well versed in the proportions of the human body because they went to school as almost like medical illustrators.
I'm sorry, you guys. It'll be way better if we just give me a minute and we just go from the start.
Here we go.
You're coming home soon, right?
Okay, Dad, I don't want you to freak out. But I'm going to a medical center in Switzerland.
Kristen there's a lot for her to do as an actress, and we wanted to keep all her emotion. We wanted to keep the way her eyes look, the way her lip quiver. We wanted to retain all that. The other techniques previously would have been to make a 3D face and try to animate that. It's like, we're not animating anything. We're just following and we're thinning.
Well, I've always been an advocate of integrating practical effects and then being enhanced with visual effects.
It not only helps her performance, but also helps to address it visually.
I'd never worked with prosthetics before. It's you know, you walk by a monitor and you're like, that's not, wow, that's not me. People would be like, oh my goodness. And I'd be like, no, I don't just look that bad right now. I mean, you know, obviously I've got, you know, yeah. So they did a great job. They looked very real.
We've got a great prosthetics company, which is actually doing, you know, chest pieces and cheekbones.
Did something sort of strange to the bridge of my nose and my chin. They plan on digitally reducing that.
So it's a combination of old school Hollywood prosthetics and new school digital help.
Once we see her like this, it starts this process of disintegration, of her becoming weaker and thinner. And Kirsten's you know, she's very thin on her own, but this is an emaciation thing.
We had phase 1, 2, and 3. Stage 1, we see dark under her eyes and she gets thinner.
In the second stage, these bones protrude more. These bones start to protrude. Obviously, then it gets more extreme.
Phase 3, she weighed 65 pounds.
It's definitely very strange considering we did most of the movie where she gets looking progressively worse and worse and worse. It was actually quite moving to see her look as haggard and destroyed as she did.
I'm not gonna lie. You're hideous.
The initial direction we're given for the emaciation of Bella was fairly extreme. It was pretty gaunt, her eyes were deep, and we got pretty close, we achieved it. And then they started dropping the shots in, and the reaction was like, ah! And you know, based on the, like, holy cow, you know, she looks really bad. So they said, give her a few cheeseburgers and bring the shots back to us.
Original, latest, original, latest.
Boy, it's really subtle. When it works, you've got it right. It's really all the time this fine edge. All the notes are the same. It's just most of a artistic eye saying, you know what, I know this is correct, but she still looks her face looks wide.
Yeah.
The trickiest scene is where we move past her back onto Bella's face. This is a point where she really is literally skin and bones.
So on the face, we used the shrink wrap technique. For the whole body shot, we ended up using a full CG body. And then you attach the skin to it. So then you can make this 3D model move around. So it's a much more complex than the facial shrink wrap thing that we did, but it's really the only way to do a full body. There's no shrink wrap trick for the full body.
When I saw this in the first screening, everybody was just dead silence. And I wasn't sure, like, oh my God, they hate it. They said it freaked everybody out. That's the moment. It's like, okay, when you really get it, you realize she's dying.
Okay, we're gonna look at it, Kristen.
You're set. You just need to grab it like this.
They created this doll. It's this thing, I don't know what to call it, that looks just like Kristen, minus 50 pounds.
It made it a lot easier to be concerned. We had to look at this puppet and it was just awful and really emaciated and it's kind of creepy.
The description in the book of sort of when she stands and drops the blood and her back breaks in an unnatural way and her legs splay out, well, that's just something you can't accomplish with an actress.
Hi, welcome to the Legacy Effects trailer. We've created this likeness of Bella in her emaciated state. So to make a piece like this, it was involved in several steps. The team of guys did a traditional life cast on her, which provides the subtle, skin texture, but we also had her scanned digitally. So we had her from head to toe scanned. Then in the computer, we took her scan and we manipulated that into getting this emaciated look. Fingers can be positioned, and it's pretty lifelike. You get all the bone rotations, legs as well. It's as lifelike as you can possibly make it.
Really nice. Great job.
It was incredible when the Bella doll finally appeared on the set. She was sort of like hanging, you know, at the corner of the soundstage.
When we showed her the puppet, we had some very funny moments when she looked at herself.
I've always wanted to hang out with myself.
And she started punching it.
I really do feel so inclined to like
hit her. Why?
Slap her. I don't know, like, 'cause she's all upset. Snap out of it. Snap out of it.
They did a fantastic job. It felt so much like her, and yet like this other version, this horribly sick version of her. I was surprised Kristen wasn't more freaked out by it.
So it's 3, 2, 1, action.
Drop, yeah. 3, 2, 1, drop.
Ooh, I should have
That
pulled.
worked.
Yeah, I felt like I was late.
I mean, I was looking at a person for like 3 seconds.
Here we go.
I think just like taking it in first at this moment.
And I'm standing like an idiot like this.
But slow-mo, it'll be fantastic.
Yeah, but who's... No, you don't understand. I stand like this sometimes. This is not the first time this has happened.
Everybody set? Roll camera. Speed and set. 3, 2, 1, go.
Generally, when I've worked with dummies before, they're not at all human-like. But this one looks just like Kristen and is smushy and feels like a human.
It's all like upsetting, a little upsetting.
Go!
It's really disturbing seeing her like fall in really unnatural positions. It's gonna look fantastic.